I would like to share a story that happened to me almost a year ago. After living with my husband for more than 2 decades, I began to feel an overwhelming desire to add some variety to our lives. Our communication had become sparse, and our household chores and marital duties had become monotonous and boring. Day after day, year after year, the same routine of cleaning, cooking, and unfulfilled expectations repeated itself. And so one morning, having escorted everyone out of the house, I decided to diversify my life. I went on a dating site, took some pictures, and created a new identity. I changed my name and changed my appearance, wearing a wig and makeup so that my husband wouldn't recognize me. In fact, I wouldn't have recognized myself. Surprisingly, within an hour, there were people who expressed interest in meeting me, and 2 of them even wanted to meet me in person. This intrigued me even more. However, I wasn't particularly interested in the 2 people who were of rather large build. However, one man caught my attention. He had decent looks, even though he was young. His name was Ryan. I was a bit taken aback as I hadn't stated my age, but it was clear from the picture that I was much older than him. I decided to let him know that. I expressed my gratitude for his interest in me, but also warned him of my age. I felt that we might not be suitable for further communication. To my surprise, there was no response until the evening. The next morning, however, he wrote back, telling me that I had simply amazed him and that age could not interfere with his feelings. Another day passed and my husband came home drunk. We ended up fighting again. He went up to his room and went to bed, and I sat in the kitchen in anger. At this point, I called Ryan and agreed to meet with him immediately to get my mind off of everything that had happened. Without any hesitation, he agreed. I freshened up, got dressed, and angrily walked out of the house, slamming the door behind me. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop, and when Ryan saw me, he jumped up from his chair and invited me to join him at the table. He was taller than me, slim and dressed in a rather expensive outfit. He then walked over to the counter and brought 2 cocktails. Later, he ordered a glass of champagne for each of us. He talked a lot, going from one topic to another. After finishing the champagne, he suggested we take a walk around the city. It was already night, and I, not afraid of being recognized by someone I knew, agreed. After cocktails and champagne, my head felt pleasantly buzzing. I was at a loss as to my destination and our current location. We stopped in front of a house with dark windows. "Should we go inside?" asked Ryan, gesturing towards the house. "What's in there?" I asked, coming to my senses. "That's where I live," he replied, wrapping his arms around me and pulling me to him. Even though I realized the consequences of visiting his house, I still accepted his invitation. Setting aside all preconceptions, we headed toward his place. As soon as we entered, he immediately put his arms around me and led me straight to the big bed, where we spent the whole night and hardly slept. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. He wasn't around, and the clock read 9:30. Perhaps my intoxicated husband wasn't awake yet, and I could come home unnoticed. So I did. When I got home, my husband was still asleep, and I breathed a sigh of relief. A few days later, I contacted Ryan to set up another appointment, as the time I spent with him was the most enjoyable time of my life. My intoxicated husband was boring, and I wanted something more exciting.